Hello, my name is Frank Christensen and I'm the coordinator of officials for IFAF in Europe. This is the second of 2 training tapes dealing with intentional grounding. And today we're looking at the type of grounding that happens after the quarterback rolls out of the pocket. So what are the rules? What can he do? What can't he do? But before we get that far and get to the game film, let's have a look at what the rulebook and the MOFO have to say on the topic.
In the rulebook, we go to 732H saying a forward pass is illegal if the forward passer, to conserve yardage, throws the ball forward into an area where there is no eligible teammate player. And the exception to this is it is not a foul if the forward passer is or has been outside the tackle box and throws the ball so that it crosses or lands beyond the neutral zone or neutral zone extended, or would have crossed the neutral zone if not touched by Team B. This applies only to the player who controls the snap or the resulting backward pass, or does not relinquish possession to another player before throwing the forward pass. And then a funny or interesting little rule is 737C that says when an illegal forward pass is incomplete, the ball belongs to the passing team at the spot of the pass. So if you think about this, if we've got 1st and 10 from the A30, and then we have an illegal forward pass, could be a grounding from the A25, the next play actually wouldn't be 2nd and 10 from the A30, it would be 2nd and 15 from the spot of the foul, which was the A25. And the exception to this rule is if Team B declines the penalty for an illegal pass thrown from the end zone, the ball shall next be put in play at the previous spot. In the MOFO, we go to 5 for non-contact fouls, and number 9 deals with intentional grounding. A, don't call it if the passer was contacted after he started the act of throwing the ball, or if the ball is touched. Under these circumstances, you must assume the passer intended to throw the ball to a receiver. B, do call it if the passer was contacted before he started his throwing motion. He is not allowed to throw the ball away to avoid a sack. In some circumstances, it may be appropriate to rule the ball dead rather than penalize for intentional grounding because he was held and his forward progress was stopped. C, do not call intentional grounding if the passer throws the ball away except straight down when not under defensive pressure. He's entitled to waste a down if he is in no danger of being sacked. The clock is not a factor. D, there's no need to call it if the pass is intercepted, or this would be the only foul called. E, getting the ball to within 1 yard of the neutral zone is to be regarded as close enough. Don't be technical on this. And finally, F, if a pass is touched by an ineligible receiver, it will normally just be a foul for illegal touching. However, if the passer does this in an obviously deliberate manner to avoid loss of yardage, then a foul for intentional grounding is justified. By rule, you cannot have illegal touching on an illegal pass. So that was the book. Now let's have a look at some real live examples in the game film. This first example is very interesting for a number of reasons. First, the quarterback rolls out of the pocket, so there's that. Now he has 2 outs, if you will. He can either throw the ball to an eligible receiver, or he can throw the ball beyond the line of scrimmage. In this case, he does neither. Now, let's just agree that this is an intentional pass. This is not a fumble where the ball just flies into the air. Now, the MOFO says that if the ball is caught by an offensive lineman like here, typically we would have illegal touching as opposed to intentional grounding. But then remember how the MOFO goes on to say, unless it is clearly and deliberately done to avoid your loss of yards, which I think is the case here. So even though this crew ends up, they talk about it, which is good. They have a good discussion, but they end up deciding that this is illegal touching instead of intentional grounding. And I think we should have gone with the intentional grounding for a number of reasons. I think this is deliberately, intentionally getting rid of the ball, and it's very open that there is nobody else around. So I think grounding is the better call. Also, this is 4th down. So illegal touching is declined and the ball is brought back to the previous spot, and well, the ball is, so the penalty is declined, so defense will end up taking the ball at the dead ball spot, which is the 18, whereas if we're going to go with grounding, that would have put the ball at 26, so there's also a fairly substantial yardage difference. Now, this being the quarterback rolling out to the center judge, this really becomes the center judge's call according to our current mechanics. But again, typically illegal touching in this situation, but when it's this obvious, I think we need to go with intentional grounding. This play illustrates the other out that the quarterback has but doesn't quite make. Here he throws the ball away. The line of scrimmage was the B7, and here the ball maybe gets back to the 12, sideline extended, and the contact does not affect the quarterback. So he could either get the ball to a receiver or he could get the ball across the line of scrimmage. Here he does neither. So this is intentional grounding. Now, again, the quarterback needs to keep his focus on the referee needs to keep his focus on the quarterback. So he needs help from, in this case, the wings to indicate that the ball never crossed the line. And they do that very well here. So it's a good job to get this. Now we're turning our attention to some plays where some legal plays, and we're going to talk about why this is not grounding. So the quarterback gets out of the pocket, and now we know she has two options: get the ball to an eligible receiver or get it back to the line of scrimmage. Here, almost in desperation, she tries to throw the ball to A50, who obviously is not an eligible receiver, but the ball lands pretty much at the line of scrimmage, indicating, or which is a good example of what the MoFo talks about when it says as long as the ball gets back to about 1 yard of the line of scrimmage, we're okay. So here, definitely sure that this ball made it back to the line of scrimmage. And again, another example of where the referee or the center judge, whoever is covering this, needs to stay with the quarterback, and he or she will not have an idea of where the ball went or who was there. So it's up to, in this case, the umpire could be a really good example, or he would be in good position to point to A50 to illustrate that, or rather indicate that the ball did in fact get back to the line of scrimmage. So legal play. Here the quarterback is nice enough to roll out towards the camera to give us a better angle, and now he's certainly out of the pocket, which gives him 2 outs now. And here there's absolutely no doubt that the ball does cross the line of scrimmage, so that's 1. You might argue that the ball goes in the direction of the slot back here in the middle of the screen, but the way, and if the ball had been thrown with high velocity right over the head of this receiver, then we could argue that he was in the area. However, here the way the ball is thrown very, very high with a high arc, I don't think that we can argue that this receiver down here is in the area of the pass, just because it lands 10-15 yards beyond him, with a high arc. But in any case, the ball did cross the line of scrimmage, so this is legal grounding. And this play is very similar in the sense that the quarterback does manage to roll out of the pocket, giving him that second out, and as he needs to get rid of the ball, he does throw it beyond the line of scrimmage clearly. So again, this is a legal grounding, well covered by the center judge. Now we're moving to the other option that the quarterback has, which is getting the ball close to an eligible receiver. Here he rolls out of the pocket, turning into the center judge's man while the referee is cleaning up behind the play. And you'll notice here that the defense now has a grab of him. So if the quarterback now decides to throw the ball, that's on him. He now has to get it either beyond the line of scrimmage or close to an eligible receiver. We cannot say that the contact caused the ball to go wherever it went. And here the quarterback does throw it, and whether the ball gets back to the line of scrimmage is hard to see from this angle, but the running back is right here and the ball is right here, and that is close enough that the running back is in the vicinity, making this a legal play. Here's another example of a situation where a receiver, this time the wingback, gets close enough. So the wingback starts, right behind the tackle, and he runs a short out route. And even though the ball lands a number of yards in front of him, he is in the area, and he's moving towards where the ball was going. So this is close enough that we can say he is in the area, making this a legal play. And again, the quarterback needs to stay with the quarterback here, because who knows what can happen to him after the ball is gone. And the crew does a good job of communicating. You see the umpire is pointing. I'm sure the wing is also pointing, maybe even the deep wing. And they go on the radio to say number 26 was in the area, making this legal. Here's another example of quarterback getting out of the pocket, and then whether or not the pass gets to the line of scrimmage really doesn't matter. I think it does, but it doesn't matter because the receiver is in the area. And also, it doesn't matter how the quarterback throws the ball. Here he throws it underhand, but it's still a forward pass. It doesn't have to be overhand, but again, an example of a legal pass, and a good example of the referee doing a good job of getting close to the quarterback, making sure he's okay. And then see the linesman at the top of the screen going on the radio right away to communicate that the receiver was in the area, making it a legal play. In this final play, we get a fairly good illustration. First of all, that the quarterback scrambles outside of the pocket. Now he's clearly out, and whether or not the ball gets back to the line of scrimmage, which was the 38, really is immaterial. I think that these two receivers are certainly close enough or in the area that we can argue that the quarterback was trying to get the ball to them. And even though he catches the ball out of bounds, this is close enough that we're going to allow this as a legal play. And that was it for the training tape. I hope you found something you can use on the field.